With a smirk, my wife told me, I'm leaving you. I finally found someone. Better than you. I calmly replied, It's Eric, right? I'm afraid he has something to tell you. Eric walked into the kitchen and his smile instantly froze. But there I was, Mark Reynolds, 43 years old, lying under my old Ford pickup truck that had been parked in our driveway like a scene from a country song. The irony was not lost on me. I was literally under a truck while my marriage was falling apart because of someone else I had been suspicious for months. Lisa was distant, always dressed up for work events that seemed to happen every other night. She had started going to the gym regularly, buying new clothes I had never seen and spending hours on her phone with this stupid secret smile plastered on her face. Our town of Cedar Grove was not exactly a thriving metropolis, a population of 8,000 on a good day, with half the factories closed and the other half barely hanging on. Everyone knew everyone else's business, which made it almost impossible to keep secrets, except apparently if you were my wife. I crawled out from under the truck, wiping my hands on an old rag. Through the window, I could see Lisa pacing in our kitchen, twirling her blonde hair like a teenager. At 39, she was still beautiful, maybe too beautiful for a greasy mechanic like me, at least. According to her recent attitude, you are so much more exciting than him, she continued on the phone. Mark comes home, drinks beer, and watches TV. At least you have ambition. Ambition? Yeah. I had been running Reynolds Auto Repair for 15 years. I had built it from nothing after my boxing career ended with a broken shoulder. But apparently, fixing engines and keeping the lights on was not ambitious enough for Lisa's taste. I decided to do a little detective work myself. Lisa always left her tablet charging in the living room, and we shared the same Apple account. A few taps later, and I had everything I needed to know. Eric Lawson, 35 years old, worked at the same real estate office as Lisa, a gym regular with perfectly styled hair and a smile that screamed trust fund baby. The messages between them were intimate enough to confirm an inappropriate relationship, complete with photos I definitely did not want to see. But the real gut punch was the receipt I found slipped into Lisa's bag. The Lakeside Inn, the fanciest hotel in our town, room 237. Charged her a credit card 3 times. Last month, the same credit card I helped pay off every month with my mechanic wages. I could have confronted her right then and there. I could have yelled, thrown things, made a scene like any normal husband would have done. Instead, I did something that probably should have worried me. I started planning. The next evening, I found myself at the Cedar Tavern, our local dive bar, where the beer was cheap and the lighting dim enough to hide life's disappointments. Eric was there, naturally, probably celebrating another successful afternoon with my wife. He was everything I was not. Tall, clean cut, wearing a polo shirt that probably cost more than what I made in a week. The kind of guy who never had motor oil under his fingernails or thrown a real punch in his life. Mark, Eric called out when he saw me, all fake friendliness. How's it going, buddy? Buddy. The word tasted like poison in the air between us. Cannot complain, I replied, settling onto the bar stool next to him. Although I heard you have been keeping busy lately. His face flickered with something, guilt maybe, or fear, but he recovered quickly, flashing that $1,000,000 smile. You know how it is. Work has me running all over the place. I bet it does. I signaled the bartender for 2 beers. Hey, do you remember when we used to arm wrestle in High school, you always said you would. Beat me one day. Eric laughed, but there was nervousness in it. That was 20 years ago, Mark. We are not kids anymore. Come on, I insisted, rolling up my sleeves for old time's sake, unless you are afraid of breaking a nail. The bar started paying attention. In a town like Cedar Grove, entertainment was scarce, and a potential showdown between the local mechanic and the handsome real estate agent was better than any game on TV. Eric could not back down without looking like a coward, so he rolled up his expensive sleeves and planted his elbow on the scarred bar. His hand was soft manicured. Mine was callous from years of honest work. Ready? I asked, gripping his hand. The contest lasted about 3 seconds. I could have ended it immediately, but I wanted to send a message. I let him struggle against me, let him think he had a chance. Then, slowly, methodically, I pressed his hand toward the bar. The tendons in his wrist started to stretch, and I could see panic creeping into his eyes. Careful, Eric, I said calmly, so only he could hear. Some things you grab break under pressure. I slammed his hand down hard, enough to rattle the beer bottles. Eric pulled his hand back, flexing his fingers and trying to hide his grimace. Good game, he muttered, tossing a $20 bill on the bar and heading for the door. I followed him into the parking lot where his spotless BMW was parked, under the streetlight like a monument to everything wrong with the world. After he was gone, I took out my pocket knife and let the air out of all 4 of his tires. Mrs. Bailey from across the street was walking her dog and saw the whole thing. She just nodded at me and kept walking. In Cedar Grove, loyalty still meant something. The next morning, I was in my garage when I heard Lisa's heels clicking on the kitchen floor. Upstairs, she was packing her bags. I could hear drawers slamming and zippers closing. It was time, showtime. I went upstairs and found her in our bedroom, stuffing clothes into her designer suitcase. She looked up at me with a smirk that could have cut glass. I am leaving, Mark, she announced as if she were reading the weather. I finally found someone better than you. I leaned against the doorframe, wiping my hands on a shop rag. Eric, right? I am afraid he has something to tell you. Her confident smile flickered slightly. What are you talking about? Instead of answering, I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text. Get over to the house right now. Lisa's face went white. Mark, what did you do? Nothing yet, I replied calmly. But Eric and I had an interesting conversation last night after you went to bed. That was a lie, of course, but Eric did not know that. And when my message threatened to expose his involvement to his boss, his wife, and half the town, he came running like a dog called to heel. 5 minutes later, Eric appeared in the doorway of our kitchen looking like he would rather be anywhere else on earth. Lisa's jaw dropped so fast I thought it was going to unhinge completely. Surprise, I said, unable to hide the satisfaction in my voice. Eric stood in our kitchen looking like he had seen a ghost, while Lisa's face went through about 6 different shades of pale. The confident woman who was packing her bags 2 minutes earlier was gone, replaced by someone who looked about to get sick on our linoleum floor. What is going on? Lisa asked, but her voice cracked like a teenager's. I walked over to the coffee maker and poured myself a cup, taking my time. Let them sweat a little. Eric here has something he needs to get off his chest. Do not you, Eric? Eric's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. His perfectly styled hair was messed up and there were sweat stains under the armpits of his expensive shirt. Mark, I Can't explain. Oh, I am sure you can. I interrupted him. But here is the thing. Eric, I already know everything. The hotel rooms, the afternoon meetings, the little notes you sent to my wife. What I want to know is why you thought you could get away with it. Lisa's suitcase hit the floor with a thud. You spied on us. I laughed, a humorless sound. Spied. Honey, you left your tablet open on the kitchen counter with all your messages displayed. A blind man could have figured out. The truth was that I had been gathering evidence for weeks. Screenshots, receipts, even a voice recording I had made of Lisa talking to Eric on the phone while she thought I was sleeping. I had learned a long time ago that in any situation like this, information was the most powerful weapon. Listen, Mark. Eric started, trying to find his courage. Lisa and I, we did not plan for this to happen. It just happened. I slammed my coffee cup down hard enough to make them both jump. You just accidentally met up multiple times at the Lakeside Inn. Lisa's face turned red. How did you get my credit card statement? Genius. The same credit card I help pay off every month. I took out my phone and started scrolling through the photos I had taken. Room 237, 3 times last month. They have security cameras in the lobby. By the way, very clear footage. That was another lie, but he did not know it. Eric looked like he was about to pass out. What do you want? Lisa asked. And for the first time since this whole mess started, she looked scared. What I want, I repeated. I want my wife and her coworker to understand that actions have consequences. I want him to realize that the boring husband he made fun of is not as unaware as he thought. I walked over to the kitchen table and spread out printouts of their text messages. Some were so personal that I had to read them twice to believe my own wife had written them. My personal favorite, I said, pointing to a particularly revealing exchange, is the one where you told Eric I was too unaware to find out, even if you left a trail of breadcrumbs. That one really hurt, Lisa. Eric tried to head for the door, but I blocked his path. Where are you going? We are just getting started. Mark, please, Lisa said, and there were actually tears in her eyes. We can fix this now. We can go to therapy. Therapy? I laughed again. You want to go to therapy after this inappropriate relationship with your coworker for months after using my money to pay for hotel rooms? After telling him how pathetic your husband is? I pulled out another piece of paper, a bank statement showing withdrawals from our joint account. Did you know Eric was borrowing money from you, Lisa? $2,000. Last month alone. Apparently, his successful real estate career is not going so well. Lisa turned to Eric. You told me you were doing fine. You said you were making 6 figures. Eric's face reddened. I'm doing fine. It was just temporary. Temporary? I cut him off. According to the public records I checked, you have not closed a sale in 3 months. Your car payments are 2 months behind, and you are about to be evicted from your apartment. The look on Lisa's face was priceless. Her knight in shining armor was turning out to be more like a court jester in aluminum foil. You lied to me, she said to Eric, her voice barely above a whisper. Everybody lies, Lisa, I said. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Just then my daughter Caitlin walked into the kitchen. At 17, she had my dark hair and her mother's stubborn temper, along with a teenager's perfect timing for dramatic moments. What is going on? She asked, looking between the 3 of us. And why does Eric look like he is about to get sick? Lisa rushed over to her. Caitlin, honey, go to your room. The adults need to talk. But Caitlin was smart. She looked at the papers, scattered on the table, her mother's red eyes, Eric's guilty expression. Oh my God, she said. Mom, are you cheating on Dad? And the silence that followed was deafening. Lisa opened her mouth, but no. Words came out. Yeah, I said calmly. She is. Caitlin's face went through the same color changes as her mother's, but she landed on anger instead of fear. How could you do this to Dad, to our family? It is complicated, Lisa started. You are having an affair, Caitlin yelled. And you, she turned to Eric. You are disgusting. She stormed out of the kitchen, and a few seconds later we heard her bedroom door slam hard enough to rattle the windows. Look at what you have done now, Lisa said to me. What I have done? I could not believe what I was hearing. I am not the one who destroyed our family, Lisa. This is entirely your fault. Eric finally found his voice. Maybe I should leave. You are not going anywhere, I said. Not until we settle this. Settle what? Lisa asked. I smiled, but it was not a nice smile. Well, I guess the two of you have some choices to make. You can confess everything to everyone, to your boss, your friends, Caitlin's school counselor, who you lied to about our perfect family, or I can do it for you. You would not do that, Lisa breathed. Try me, I said. I have nothing left to lose. Thanks to you. The kitchen fell silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of Eric's panicked breathing. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Bailey's dog barking, probably at a squirrel. Normal life continued while mine fell apart. But here is the thing about hitting rock bottom. It gives you a certain kind of freedom when you have nothing left to lose. You can afford to play hardball. Here is what is going to happen, I said, my voice calm and steady. The two of you are going to sit down and write a full confession. Every detail, every lie, every hotel room. Then you will decide how you want this story to end. And what if we do not? Eric asked, trying to sound tough, but failing miserably. I picked up my coffee cup and took a slow sip. Then I guess we will find out just how boring this old mechanic really is. 2 days later, I was setting up folding tables in my backyard for our annual neighborhood barbecue. It was a tradition Lisa had started 5 years ago, her way of showing off our perfect marriage to the whole street. The irony was delicious. Lisa had been wandering around the house like a ghost since our confrontation in the kitchen. She had tried to talk to Caitlin, but our daughter was having none of it. She had tried to talk to me, but I had made it perfectly clear that the time for talking was over. Eric kept calling nonstop, but Lisa would not answer. You do not have to do this, Lisa said, carrying a bowl of potato salad into the backyard. Her hands were shaking. Do what? I asked, testing the projector I had borrowed from my buddy Gary at the gym. Host a barbecue. It is tradition, Lisa. You would not want to disappoint the neighbors, would you? She set the bowl down and grabbed my arm. Mark, please. I know I messed up, but this is insane. Think of Caitlin. Think of what this will do to her. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I had married 20 years ago who had promised to love and honor me for better or for worse. She was still beautiful, still the girl who laughed at my terrible jokes and held my hand during my mother's funeral. But that woman was gone. In her place stood a stranger who had lied to my face for months, who had spent our money on hotel rooms with another man who had planned to leave me for someone better. I did. Think of Caitlin, I said, pulling my arm free. I thought about how she deserves to know the truth about her mother. I thought about how she deserves To see that actions have consequences. The neighbors will be here any minute. Lisa pleaded, whatever you are planning, do not do it in front of everyone. But it was too late. The Bailey family was already crossing the street with a covered dish. Behind them came the Elises from next door and the Martinez family from down the street. Within 20 minutes, my backyard was full of neighbors, friends, and their kids. Gary arrived with his wife, Susan, giving me a knowing nod. I had filled him in on the situation, and he had offered to help with whatever I needed. That is what real friends do. They have your back when the world goes sideways. Great turnout this year, Gary said, grabbing a beer from the cooler. Are you ready for this? As ready as I will ever be, I replied. Lisa was working the crowd like a politician, all fake smiles and nervous laughter. She kept shooting glances at me, probably wondering when the other shoe was going to drop. Eric had not shown up, which was smart on his part. After everyone had eaten and the kids were playing in the yard, I stood up and tapped my beer bottle with a fork. Can I have everyone's attention? The crowd quieted down. Turning toward me, Lisa's face went white. I just wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight. As you know, Lisa and I have been hosting this barbecue for 5 years now, and it has always been about celebrating our community, our friendships, and our families. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Bailey called out, Here. This year is a little special. I continued because I put together a short slideshow of memories from the past year. Lisa has been so busy with work lately, I thought it would be nice to show everyone what she has been up to. I clicked the remote and the projector screen lit up with a picture of Lisa at her real estate office. Nothing suspicious there. The crowd smiled and nodded. The second slide was Lisa at a work conference, still innocent. The third slide was a screenshot of a text message from Lisa to Eric. I cannot wait to be with you. Again, the crowd went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop in the grass. Oops, I said, clicking to the next slide. Wrong folder, but I did not change it. The next slide was even worse. A photo from Eric to Lisa that left no doubt about the inappropriate nature of their relationship. Lisa lunged for the projector, but Gary blocked her path. I think people want to see the rest of the show, Lisa. The crowd started murmuring. Some people stood up to get a better look. Mrs. Bailey had her hand over her mouth. Mr. Ellis was shaking his head in disgust. Mark, stop this, Lisa screamed, but her voice was lost in the growing noise of the crowd. I clicked through a few more slides, hotel receipts, more text messages, even a voice recording of Lisa telling Eric how much she looked forward to a new life with him. By the end, half the neighborhood was looking at Lisa like she had grown a second head. Well, I said, turning off the projector, I guess that is what my wife has been up to this year. Anyone want dessert? Lisa was crying big, ugly tears now that smeared her makeup. She tried to run toward the house, but Caitlin was standing in the back door, arms crossed, blocking her path. How could you do this to Dad? Caitlin said, loudly enough for everyone to hear. How could you do this to us? Caitlin, please. Lisa started. No, Caitlin yelled. You are disgusting, both of you. That was when Eric chose to make his grand entrance. He came stumbling around the side of the house, clearly not thinking straight. When he saw the crowd staring at him, he tried to back away, but it was too late. Gary grabbed him by the shirt and dragged him into the middle of the yard. Look what we have here, folks. the other half of the situation. A confrontation broke out, and Eric ended up on the ground. The crowd was turning ugly. Now, these were working class folks who believed in marriage, family, and doing right by your neighbors. What Lisa and Eric had done was unforgivable in their eyes. Get the hell out of here, Mrs. Bailey yelled at Eric. Home wreckers, Mrs. Ellis added. Eric scrambled to his feet and ran toward his car, leaving Lisa alone in the middle of the hostile crowd. She looked around desperately, but there was no sympathy to be found. I think the party is over, I announced. Thank you for coming, everyone. As the neighbors filed out, they made sure to let Lisa know exactly what they thought of her. When the yard was empty, she was sitting on the ground sobbing into her hands. Do you feel better now? She asked me through her tears. Actually, I said, yes, but I was not done yet, not by a long shot. The next morning, I woke up to find Lisa's side of the bed empty. For a moment, I thought she had finally left, but then I heard her in the kitchen talking on the phone in hushed, desperate tones. Vanessa, you have to help me, she was saying. Mark has lost his mind. He humiliated me in front of the whole neighborhood. Vanessa was Lisa's business partner and best friend, an elegantly dressed woman with perfectly styled dark hair and the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. She had never liked me, and the feeling was mutual. I sneaked down the stairs and listened from the hallway. We need to turn the tables, Lisa continued. Make him look like the bad guy. You said you had a plan. I have been waiting for this opportunity for years. Vanessa's voice replied through the speakerphone. That guy cost me everything when he got my brother fired. Now it is payback time. My blood ran cold. Vanessa's brother, Corey, had worked at the garage where I was employed before starting my own shop. He was stealing parts and selling them on the side. When I caught him and reported him to the boss, he was fired and eventually arrested. But I had never connected him to Vanessa. So you planned this? Lisa asked. For 5 years, Vanessa replied. I eyed you toward Eric, making sure you would eventually get caught. I knew Mark would overreact, and now we can use that against him. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. This whole situation, the betrayal, the humiliation, the destruction of my marriage, it had all been orchestrated by a woman seeking revenge for something her brother had brought upon himself. What do we do now? Lisa asked. We are going to file a restraining order. Vanessa said, claim that he threatened you, that you fear for your safety. Then we'll take him for everything he is worth in the divorce. I had heard enough. I took out my phone and started recording, then walked into the kitchen. Good morning, ladies, I said pleasantly. Do not mind me, just getting some coffee. Lisa almost dropped the phone. Mark, I did not know you were awake. Oh, I have been awake for a while, I said, pouring myself a cup. I heard a very interesting conversation. Hi, Vanessa. Go to hell. Mark. Vanessa's voice crackled through the speaker. Already there, thanks to you, I replied. But here's the thing about hell. It taught me some new tricks. I held up my phone showing the recording app. Conspiracy, fraud, false accusations. I am sure the State Bar would be very interested to hear about a lawyer coaching her clients to file false restraining orders. The line went dead. Vanessa had hung up. Lisa looked at me with a mix of fear and hatred. You recorded us? Just like you orchestrated the end of our marriage, I said. Turnabout is fair play. That afternoon, I paid a visit to Vanessa's law firm. It was one of those sleek, modern places with glass walls and expensive furniture designed to intimidate people like me, but I was not intimidated anymore. The receptionist tried to tell me Vanessa was busy, but I walked right past her desk and straight into the corner office where Vanessa sat behind a desk the size of a small car. You cannot be in here, she said, reaching for her phone. I am calling security. Go ahead, I said, settling into the armchair across from her desk. I am sure they would love to hear the recording I made this morning. Her hand froze over the phone. What do you want? I want you to understand something, I said, leaning forward. You destroyed my marriage to get revenge on me for your brother's actions. You manipulated my wife, broke my family, and traumatized my daughter, all for revenge. Your family was already broken, she sneered. I just helped it along. Maybe I admitted, but you made it personal, and now I am going to return the favor. I pulled out a folder and spread its contents across her expensive desk. Bank statements, tax returns, client files, information that had taken me 3 days and several favors to gather. You have been taking money from your client's escrow accounts, I said. Small amounts, nothing that would be noticed individually, but it adds up to about $50,000 over the last 2 years. Her face paled. That is impossible. You are bluffing. Am I? I pointed to a highlighted entry on one of the statements, the Bailey account. You were supposed to hold their house deposit in escrow for 30 days. Instead, you invested it in your personal stock portfolio and replaced it when the deal closed. That is a crime, Vanessa. She tried to maintain her composure, but I could see the cracks forming. You cannot prove anything. Actually, I can. I pulled out another document. Your brother Corey kept records of everything. It turns out prison gives you a lot of time to think about who really caused the trouble. He tracked your little scheme, waiting for the right moment to use it. That was a lie. Corey was still in prison and had no idea what his sister was doing. But Vanessa did not know that. He reached out to me last week. I continued. It sounds like he blames you for not getting him out of jail when he was arrested. Family loyalty only goes so far, I guess. Vanessa's hands were shaking now. What do you want? I want you to disappear, I said simply. Close your practice, leave town, and never contact my family again. Do that, and maybe these documents will never reach the district attorney's office. And if I do not, I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you'll find out what it is like to share a cell with someone who does not appreciate lawyers. I stood up and headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Vanessa, if you ever try to hurt my family again, I will not be so nice. 2 days later, Vanessa's firm was closed. According to the building manager, she had broken her lease and vanished overnight. Lisa tried calling her for days, but the number was disconnected. With her puppet master gone, Lisa seemed to deflate like a popped balloon. She moved into the guest room and started talking about therapy again, but we both knew it was too late for that. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday morning. Lisa had found a new lawyer, someone who specialized in high conflict cases. She was asking for half of everything plus alimony and child support. But I had one more card to play. That evening, I called Caitlin into my home office. At 17, she was old enough to understand what was happening to our family and old enough to make her own choices. Your mother is filing for divorce, I told her. She is asking for custody. Caitlin's face hardened. I'm not going with her. You might not have a choice, I said. Unless what? I pulled out a document I had prepared. Unless you are willing to tell a judge exactly what you think of your mother's choices. Caitlin read the affidavit. Quickly, her expression growing more determined with every page. When she finished, she looked up at me with eyes that reminded me of my own. Where do I sign? She asked. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following month, but it never happened. When Lisa's lawyer saw Caitlin's statement, 17 pages, detailing every lie, every betrayal, every moment of pain caused by her mother, he advised Lisa to settle out of court. In the end, Lisa got her freedom and nothing else. No alimony, no house, no custody. She moved to another state with what was left of her savings and a reputation that followed her wherever she went. Eric had already disappeared, probably to find another married woman in another town. As for me, I kept the house, the business, and my daughter. Most importantly, I kept my self-respect. Sometimes at night, I still think about the woman I married 20 years ago before she became someone I did not recognize. I wonder if she ever thinks about what she threw away, if she ever regrets the choices that destroyed our family. But most of the time, I do not think about her at all, because some things once broken are not worth fixing. Comment. Hey, friends, thanks so much for sticking around until the end. I've been thinking a lot about what this story shows us about self-respect. You deserve to protect your peace by setting clear boundaries in any relationship. Being kind to yourself after a tough situation is the first step toward real healing. Taking full responsibility for your own happiness changes how you show up in life. I encourage you to pause and reflect on where you might need to choose yourself more. Choosing calm over chaos has helped me through my own difficult times. We all have the inner strength to rebuild and create better days ahead. True loyalty begins when you stay true to your own values and heart. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.